dark matter.
I have now gone back through the shipping incident records for this stretch of coast, going back 15 years. There have been 9 unexplained wrecks in the vicinity of Harrow Point, all at night, all in good visibility. February 2nd, 1982. I spoke to a fisherman from Harrow Village today. He told me something his grandfather had told him, that there had always been wrecks on Harrow Point, that the old fisherman had a name for whatever lived beneath the point, that the name translated roughly to the caller. February 28th, 1983. I have made a decision. The sound has been quiet for 3 weeks, the longest silence since 1981. I believe it is waiting. I believe it has understood that the light is a warning, and that as long as the light functions, ships will not be drawn to the rocks by the sound. I believe it is patient. I believe it has been patient for a very long time. March 1st, 1983. I am turning off the light. Not permanently. I will report a mechanical failure and return to the mainland for parts. But I am leaving, and I am not coming back. Whoever reads this, do not turn the light back on. Do not give it a reference point. Do not let it know where the light is. It has been in the water for a very long time, and it has learned patience, and it has learned the sounds that bring ships to the rocks. And if it learns where the light is, if it establishes a relationship with the light, I do not know what it will learn next. I am sorry for leaving. I am not sorry for why.
Story 12. Room 11. The door to room 11 was between room 10 and room 12 on the 3rd floor of the Alderman Hotel, and it had been there for as long as anyone could remember. The problem was that the hotel's floor plan did not show a room 11. Mae Cho had been the head housekeeper at the Alderman for 11 years. She had inherited the position from the previous head housekeeper, a woman named Brenda, who had been at the hotel for 30 years before she retired, and Brenda had told her about room 11 on her first day. She had said, "You'll clean rooms 1 through 10 and 12 through 24. You won't clean room 11. Mae had asked, why? Brenda had said, because room 11 has its own arrangement. Mae had asked what that meant. Brenda had given her a look, the look of someone who has a great deal to say and has decided not to say most of it, and she had said, "The guest in room 11 takes care of things themselves. You leave fresh towels outside the door on Tuesdays. You don't knock, you don't open the door, you leave the towels and you go." Mae had asked who was in room 11. Brenda had said, "Someone who checks in and doesn't check out." And then she had said, "I have been leaving towels outside room 11 every Tuesday for 30 years, and I have never once seen the same face twice in the peephole." Mae had asked, "What peephole?" Brenda had said, "There isn't one. That's the point." She retired the following week, and Mae had been the head housekeeper, and every Tuesday she left fresh towels outside room 11, and she did not knock and she did not open the door. For 11 years she did this. For 11 years the towels were gone when she came back on Wednesday. She had learned not to think about this too carefully. The Alderman was an old hotel. 1887, the original date, was carved in the lintel above the front door, and old hotels had arrangements. Old hotels had the specific sediment of long operation, the rules that accumulated over decades that nobody remembered the origins of, but that everyone observed, because observing them was easier than not observing them. She observed the Tuesday towel rule. She did not think about it too carefully. Then a guest named Raymond checked in. He was a traveling salesman, the contemporary kind, software sales, but he had the energy of the archetype, cheerful, adaptable, comfortable in hotel rooms the way people become comfortable in hotel rooms when they spend 300 nights a year in them. He was on the 3rd floor. He came to her on Wednesday morning, and he said, "Is there someone in room 11? She said, "Yes." He said, "I heard them last night, through the wall, moving around." She said, "I'll look into it." He said, "It was late, after midnight. I heard them moving, and I heard something else, like they were dragging something heavy." She said, "I'll look into it." He went to breakfast. She went to the 3rd floor. She stood outside room 11. She had stood outside room 11 every Tuesday for 11 years, and she had never heard anything. She stood outside the door, and she listened. She heard something. It was movement, not the movement of a person moving around a hotel room, which she knew well, which had a specific human rhythm. It was something else. Something that moved with a different rhythm, something that stopped and started in the specific way of something that was aware it was being listened to. She stood outside the door. She had been told not to knock. She had been told not to open the door. She had the master key in her pocket. She had had the master key in her pocket every Tuesday for 11 years, and she had never used it on room 11. The movement inside stopped. Complete silence. She stood at the door. She thought about Raymond saying, "heavy." She thought about the towels that were always gone on Wednesday. She thought about Brenda saying, "I have never seen the same face twice." She thought about a hotel room on the 3rd floor of an 1887 hotel that was not on any floor plan. She thought about what checked in and didn't check out. She thought about the specific silence on the other side of the door, the silence of something that had stopped moving because it knew she was there. She put her hand on the door handle. She did not turn it. She stood with her hand on the handle for a very long time. Then she took her hand off the handle. She went back downstairs. She called Raymond's room. She said, "I think you should check out today. I'll arrange a refund for the remaining nights." He said, "That's a bit sudden. Is everything okay?" She said, "The hotel is going to be doing some maintenance. I think you'd be more comfortable elsewhere." He said, "What kind of maintenance?" She said, "3rd floor, near your room." He was quiet for a moment. He said, "Near room 11?" She said, "Yes." He was quiet for a moment. He said, "I'll check out this morning." He checked out. She went back upstairs. She stood outside room 11 again. She said quietly to the door, "He's gone. He won't bother you again." The silence on the other side of the door changed quality. She had been outside this door every Tuesday for 11 years, and she knew the quality of its silences. This was a different quality. This was the quality of a silence that was... She stood outside the door and she tried to name it, and the word that came to her was grateful. She went back downstairs. On Tuesday, she left fresh towels outside room 11. She did not knock, she did not open the door. On Wednesday, the towels were gone. The arrangement continued.
She had 15 more years before she retired. Whoever came after her would learn the rule on their first day. The rule was simple. Some guests checked in and didn't check out. You learned not to think about it too carefully. You left the towels. You went.
Next time on Dark Matter. She lined them up in the studio. She looked at them. She noticed something on day 11. She had been looking at the paintings, as images, as the compositions of her sleeping hand. She had not been looking at them as documentation. She started looking at them as documentation. She went through them one by one. The cars in the driveways, the positions of curtains, the mailboxes and the gardens. She found the figure on the 7th day's painting, standing at the end of the street, at the corner, at the edge of the painting's frame, partially visible. A figure, standing and looking toward her house. She went to the 8th day's painting. Closer. The figure was closer, had moved from the end of the street to the middle of the block. The 9th day, at the corner of her property, standing outside the garden gate. The 10th day. She looked at the 10th day's painting for a very long time. The figure was in her garden, looking at her front door. She looked at the 11th day's painting. She looked at it. She looked at it for a very long time. The street was empty. Please like and subscribe.